on to our next speaker, and we have Swati Kamble. So, Swati Kamble, a Dalit Bahujan academic, activist, and intersectional feminist. She focuses on studying the impact of Dalit women's activism on the policy processes in Maharashtra. Swati is PhD scholar at University of Geneva, Switzerland. So over to you, Swati.
Thank you so much. I'm humbled and honored to be here and sharing the virtual stage with all these awe-inspiring, amazing women and amazing stories. It makes my heart bigger to be part of this legacy, to celebrate on this very important day. So I will begin. Uh, I have made some notes, so I'll be reading out from them. So bear with me. So Jai Bhim, it's always a great pleasure to connect with young and aspiring people of our community that has a long history of resistance and revolution, community that strongly believes in knowledge creation and critical thinking. And I'm I'm I I'm so inspired by Mutamir's story. It's just a testament. It's emblematic of it tells to what length our people have gone and you know achieved and come back and plant many hundreds and thousands of seeds. um, and looking at, I think all of us, I had made a write-up a couple of years ago where I said I dare say I'm Ambedkar. And I said it because of the kind of aspiration for education all of us have been inculcated in by being part of this community. And I'm looking at all these inspiring women and young people that are listening to us. I feel like, yes, we are all creating revolution. We are all Savitrimai Phule's, we are all Ambedkars and all the revolutionary forefathers that have gone before us and struggled. So today we are celebrating Savitrimai Phule's birth anniversary. Her life as educator is a symbol of for us all. And by seeking education and then spreading it to um, others who were all kept deprived from it for centuries, she's planted the seeds for revolution, like I said before. So I want all the young people here, and myself including, to take a deep breath and congratulate ourselves for inheriting this very inspiring legacy by following the footstep of Phule, Ambedkar, Periyar, and um, all the revolutionaries that our community has given us. Um, Today there is so much I want to share with you all, and there is so much already has been shared. Um, all of us can relate with the stories, even when they are so diverse. We are regionally diverse, yet there is one common thread. If we are a first generation of learners from our family, then we've seen great deal of struggles, right from figuring out which courses to apply, whether to continue education or go on working, and all those struggles. And like Mutamel said, that um, there will be always smaller things to settle for. So you have to constantly make choices and decisions when you don't know a lot about the world, when you don't have a lot of role models and mentors right in front of the community. We have a story and legacy and a history, but when it comes to where we are born and raised in slums of rural parts, we lack those immediate mentors. Whereas, like in these recent decades, I think it's only growing with a lot of us coming to study in institutions like TIS and other IITs, and Nalanda is doing amazing, fantastic work by encouraging young people to go on and choose their path and break barriers and go into unconventional kind of courses and AI and so on. So I mean, we have mentors in making now, but decades ago, when some of us were growing up, we had limited sources, and yet we have broken those barriers. And uh, I I'm just very, very happy that what Nalanda is doing, and that all of you can gain some perspective and inspiration here. Um, our community has a tradition in Maharashtra. When growing up, I listened to speeches in the local community, and you can hear that the elders of the community will first take a series of names and say hail to, or pay respect to all the revolutionaries. So I'm following that footstep and saying again, I pay my respect to Savitrimai Phule, Mahatma Phule, and Dr. Ambedkar. These 19th century revolutionaries and 20th century revolutionaries created truth-seeking society and inculcated, like I said before, critical thinking and knowledge-seeking amongst us. Um, it is due to Savitrimai Phule's contribution that many of us are now educating. All the women of this country should pay, like, are indebted by Savitrimai Phule's struggles. um, Together with Mahatma Phule, she raised awareness and took actions against Brahminical patriarchy, and she wrote eloquently on varied topics. Her writings are, you know, um, um, pioneering works of historical values. Uh, Her poetry called for revolution for from oppressed to throw off their slavery. In Bavan Kashi Subodh Ratnakar, she reiterates that Mahatma Phule's critique of Brahminical constructs of the time and the decadence and exploitative nature of Peshwa, the ruling class. So we know our history. In her poem Mother English, she wrote that the ruling discriminatory Peshwa and the Brahmin rulers are defeated, and Mother English has come to emancipate us. So they looked at, like, even when we know that colonial past is very muddled, yet they looked at this opportunity of seeking education in another language as freeing, liberationary. So we Dalits have always constructed our stories uh, quite different from this nationalistic idea of nationhood and loving our nation. But uh, these path breakers sought wherever their emancipation came from. They really, again, I can't say it enough, they broke barriers, and this is the legacy that all of us are sharing, carrying. There has been struggle, but every time you feel that you're blocked, or you feel that where should I go ahead, we have to go back to this history. Coming to my story, I want to again go back to my familiar family history, which begins before my birth in a small village, remote village of Maharashtra, with my grandfather. In early 1930s, as a young man, he had studied till the 8th grade, which is like quite impressive and exceptional in those days in the Mahar community. Even then, he had to take up his caste occupation as a potraj. He devoted himself to a goddess and carried small wooden temple. In Maharashtra, a lot of people would know about potraj. They wore big, colorful, and they are still continuing this practice. So you would be seeing a lot of potraj on the streets of small, remote villages or even towns. They wore these colorful garbs, and that looks like a skirt, and he had grown his hair, which was matted, because they believe that the goddess stays in the hair, so they don't cut hair. So he begged for alms and grains for sustenance. I remember my father telling stories when there would be events or festivals. These young kids, my father and his siblings would dance on the pavement for grains. And even if this caste occupation is superstitious, undignified, people followed on it because that was also a source of income. In those days, in the 30s, Dr. Ambedkar's message was spreading in rural parts and in Dalit communities. So he emphasized my grandfather heard about Dr. Ambedkar's speeches and inspired. He made a decision that he want to stop this humiliating work. From somewhere he heard that Hinduism and believing gods is really keeping you enchained to this mental slavery. So he wanted to visit where Dr. Ambedkar was coming to give speech in one of the nearby districts, and he went and attended that meeting by walking 40 kilometers. And in his act of rebellion, he wanted to renounce his Hindu identity, and he walked to the meeting all 40 kilometers. And I remember him telling me that he pulled each strand of his hair and renounced symbolically the religion that kept him enchained. Um, and he threw the temple that he carried on his head while begging for alms. He threw it away in the water, and after that event, he never looked back. He never worshipped any gods, and eventually converted into Buddhism along with millions of other Mahar community Ambedkarite Buddhists in 1956. Um, when I heard this story as a young child, it thrilled me and inspired me. You know, I knew of I was understanding the evil power of caste mindset that kept our people enchained, but I also saw how our people resisted, broke free, like my grandfather did. And along many years, I saw many people breaking these chains, symbolic chains. Um, Soon after this event, my grandfather moved to city, and my grandparents worked hard and lived in a workers colony where my family still continues to live. Three generations of now fourth generation with my new nieces and nephews. So four generations continuing to live there, yet we have seen a lot of change. My grandparents were selling fruits and vegetables and working as laborers at the port. And my parents, my father and his siblings were also working. My father helped his mother in selling fruits. And I remember him telling me stories of how, as a young child, he felt powerless when municipal corporate contractors would harass my grandmother. And in these instances, when I heard stories of our courageous women struggling like this, I understood how much difficult life was for women in our community. And this is when I wanted to learn about women's rights. Um, and that begins like a journey for me to enter into social sciences, study social work, gender studies, policy studies. I'll get back to it in a while, but I will continue with the story of my parents. Uh, my father would tell me when he was a young boy, during the seasonal harvest in the village, upper caste women from the village would shoo him away and call him Dhedatsa Por, which if you want to translate, literally meaning there is a caste name, but it can be also derogatory term for a filthy animal. So, you know, um, at school in the city, he also was segregated. We've heard ample stories of Dalit untouchable kids sitting in the periphery of the school, sitting at the back of the classroom, or even outside. My mother could continue to high school, but at the age of 14, when she was made to stand up on a bench as a punishment for not wearing proper pair of shoes, she could not continue her education. They could hardly afford any meal. So where was the question of pair of shoes? And she discontinued. Till this day, she regrets not continuing her education and not seeking for better option in occupation and in her life, which would have given better life for her children. But I still tell her that whatever choices they've made have really helped and facilitated her. I respect my parents' choices for continuing to educate us even when life was hard for them. um, but as a child, still you always have a question, why are we poor? And I remember questioning, like, still, is it something that my parents could have done differently, if they had better jobs, or if they had something else to do, maybe we wouldn't be like this. If they made a different choice, we wouldn't be poor. But the kind of the nature of systemic oppression that we have um, in our society, um, we know that we do not really did not, as poor lower caste community people, do not really have a free choice or a level playing field. um, so that realization was also very important, that we have a very strong historical legacy that encourages us, and which is a struggle from history, yet the struggle continues. um, in the early 90s, uh, my mother one day enrolled me into a nearby government school. Um, I was fortunate to have a very dedicated teacher. She just loved to teach, and it was, quite, how shall I say? I don't want to say fortunate, but at the mercy of one individual's choice to be kind to her students, really made a difference in my life. The free and mandatory government schools were only up to seventh grade in the little town in Mumbai city that I lived in. So if we were to continue further, I had to go into a semi-government school, which is partially subsidized, but it's no better than the school I went in. And like Shalini was describing, in our school also, there were times when we would be sitting classes clubbed together because the teachers, uh, we didn't have enough teachers. So, but this teacher that I had in my primary school really, really inspired me to go for higher education, go ahead. She even told my mother that I should be shifting school for even better access. So, you know, with better school were slightly better school, there were, fees and other expenses. Um, and I saw many of the kids from my community, especially girls, stopping school after seventh grade, and boys like my brothers and cousins started to fail when they shifted to this school. Um, and here you can see that those subtle discriminations, that the reason was that we were coming from sub-quality government schools, inferior quality government schools, and suddenly switching to a school which was demanding. And the story was that you couldn't cope up in those schools. And there was, of course, certainly a bias against kids coming from government schools. So teacher gave up on these kids, and I was just terrorized that I'm going to fail also. Um, and would not cross 8th standard threshold, and I will have to discontinue school like other kids, other girls. um, uh, my father was a principled person who, again, this is a patriarchal trait where he wanted to provide for the family, and he did not want my mother to go out and work. It is a limiting thing on one hand. On the other hand, it was, Dalit community stories are so complicated. Um, uh, academicians would read it as, Dalit patriarchy. But I know that my mother was a full-time worker and educator, and she really supported us siblings and encouraged us. So she was working full-time at home. Um, they made really strong choices in their every decision. Um, my mother had enrolled me, as I said, in this school, and I remember that I had to fill out form. Uh, so it was month of May, just before a month before the school would start, and I went on to fill out the form barefoot. Uh, it was the first time I remember feeling of shame came to me. Um, my frock had a broken zip, and even with sealed pins, my bony back was exposed. So I felt humiliated, but I was very happy that I was going to go to a better school. I did complete my high school. And I went on to college, and this was again boosting my confidence. Um, um, and I knew that surely I was going to get higher education at least. Um, After my college, I by chance heard about social work degree, and this degree appealed to me. I knew that after graduation, I would immediately go into working and start earning. So I went to College of Social Work, Nirmala Niketan, um, and it was the first time that I was seeing Greater Bombay. Um, Nirmala Niketan again became one of the milestones and turning points of my life.
Swati,
Um,
sorry, I'll have to interrupt. You just have like a minute to go.
oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay. So there it goes. I started my college degree, and here is where I found my Bahujan community, Bahujan students network, mentors who shaped my aspiration for higher education. And to the young children, young students here, I would like to say that, our community has a lot of mentors. You have seen it here. You have heard stories of all the people. So don't be afraid to reach out. And Sky is the limit for everybody. Be open, like other speakers said. Don't limit yourself, and don't settle for little things. Um, Aspire for higher education. I am doing my PhD in University of Geneva. You have a lot of scholarships of European Commission. You have scholarships of the universities. University of Geneva provides its own scholarships. Swiss government provides its scholarship. Almost every European and American government also has scholarships. This state governments in India, national government has scholarships. So all those informations will be sent out to you on Nalanda platform. If you want to reach out to me, I can also give information about the higher education scholarships in social sciences. Um, and I just would like to say all the best, all the very best to you. If you want to know more about my current research, I'm open to share it via email. My email ID would be shared with you from Anup Bhai or others here. Um, all the very best. Thank you.
Thank you, Swati. Such a moving story that you shared, your grandfather's story. We know what kind of past we have, but such a powerful, beautiful story of your grandfather renouncing the chains, physical chains as well as the symbolic chains.